In just a few moments, we will be joined by David Glidden. You can find him on VidiSpace, Amazon Prime, as he is the creator of Spooklight and Spooklight 2. Stay tuned.
The Phantasmic Journey Podcast is brought to you by Tascam and Amazon Studios. For more than 30 years, Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Colin Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. And you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon. Your journey begins now.
As you follow the path and both the known and unknown, what do we understand? What answers are we trying to achieve? Are there answers? Tonight, we gather to find more verity. Join us as we take the journey into the unknown.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Phantasmic Journey Podcast. We are coming to you live from the PGH studios. Syndication is brought to you in part by WGKC and Live 365. You can listen to the broadcast live via the Live 365 app, or you can use your Apple or Android phones. But if you choose to use your PC, just go to www.live365.com and search for WGKC. Alright, well, there's a lot of strange and crazy things going on in the paranormal realms these days. What weird and wacky stories do you have for us tonight, Paula?
Well, to start off, I always do the National Day of.
Okay, what's that?
What do you think our wacky National Day of is?
I have no idea. That's why I asked.
Today is National Wildlife Day, believe it or not.
Okay.
It's also National Macadamia Nut Day.
Woohoo! I love macadamia nuts.
I know you do.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so I'm going to go with some first in history, and everything is kind of like we use.
Okay.
And so on September 4th in 1951, the first live transcontinental television broadcast took place in San Francisco from the Japanese Peace Treaty Conference.
Huh. Okay.
In 1882, Thomas Edison flips the switch to the first commercial electrical power plant in history, lightening 1 square mile of lower Manhattan.
Very nice.
In 1998, Google is founded by Larry Page and Sergey Brin, 2 students at Stanford University.
Heh. Interesting.
George Eastman. In 1888, George Eastman registered the trademark Kodak and received a patent for his camera that used rolled film.
There you go.
1888. All the stuff that we use.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I know you don't like spiders.
Nope, I'm terrified of spiders.
Well, this story happened about 8 days ago, but I figured it's kind of strange, and it's something that makes you think what can actually bump in the night can actually bite you in the night.
Oh, Lord. Give me nightmares now, will you?
A brown recluse spiders, a venomous variety native to the South and Midwest, earned their name for their tendency to tuck themselves hidden nooks and crannies. Still, when Susie Torres of Kansas City, Missouri, took herself to the doctor's office for a swishing sound that wouldn't go away, she didn't expect that one of these 8-legged creatures had made itself a home in her ear.
Ew, no.
But when the nurse peered inside Torres' ear, that was exactly what the health provider found.
Gross.
She ran out and said, "I'm going to get a couple more people," Torres told KSHB in Kansas City. She then said, "I think you have an insect in there." The spider probably crawled in Torres' ear while she was sleeping. Thankfully, her guest never bit her. Once the doctors removed the brown recluse, Torres was fine. But she won't be taking any chances from now on, she said. Ever since the incident early this week, she's been sleeping with cotton balls in her ears.
Then she won't be able to hear an intruder.
"I'm pretty terrified of spiders," she said. And Torres had some reason to be shaken up. The spider in her ear wasn't just any variety. The brown recluse is one of the world's most poisonous spiders, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. The arachnid bit usually isn't fatal, but it can cause severe tissue damage, according to the Occupational Safe and Health Administration. The spider's venom contains a toxin that kills skin, sometimes leaving an open wound as large as a human hand.
Yep.
Okay, this is not the first time a creepy crawly had found its way into an ear. The cavities apparently may attractive hideouts for all kinds of creatures, including flying larvae,
Ew.
flesh-eating worms, and
Ew.
even a gecko has been found inside somebody's ear. How do you get a lizard in your ear?
You must have a big ear. Holy crap, that's a big ear.
Well, the next story is to the paranormal realm.
Okay. I like that.
Well, that's one way to scare up publicity.
Uh-oh.
2 British athletes, starring on a reality show, are claiming that a sex ghost seems to be haunting their hotel room.
Okay. These sex ghosts are hilarious.
British Paralympian Kading Cock and retired rugby star Garth Thomas are two of the celebrity competitors on The Jump, a British show where famous people compete in various snow sports, a ski jump with the stars, if you will. The season's first episode aired Sunday on the Channel 4 network, but the show is scaring up more attention for what's happening in the celebrity's hotel room. During the episode, the 25-year-old Cock reported asking for a new room after allegedly being sexually violated by a ghost.
Yeah, okay.
Another competing celebrity, Emma Parker Bowles, the Duchess of Cornwall's niece, said on the show that Cox was penetrated by some sort of paranormal entity. Thomas, 42, concurred. She had a ghost going in and out of her. She had a sleeping thing, he said, according to The Sun. She wishes it were a person. It was going in and out of her body.
Oh, jeez.
The feeling was apparently so real to her, she asked for a room change, as did Thomas. I don't want to move to different floors while we're at it. Because when I'm hearing these ghost stories, I was at the very, very end of the corridor and I got scared, he said, according to the Express. Cox and Thomas are just the latest semi-family people who've claimed to have had ghost sex. Last year, Bobby Brown promoted his autobiography by claiming a ghost had sex with him.
Bobby who? Bobby Brown? The singer? Right.
I wasn't high, Brown told 2020. I was not tripping.
Sure. We believe that.
In September 2012, Keisha told Ryan Seacrest her song Supernatural was inspired by a Randy romp with a male ghost. It's about experiences with the supernatural, but it's a sexy way, she told Seacrest. I have a couple experiences with the supernatural. I don't know his name. He was a ghost. It's very open to it. The concept of ghost sex arouses a lot of interest, and there are some people who are spectrophiliacs who fantasizes about spooky encounters. Debunkers, however, are quick to dismiss ghost on human. Whoopi Ben Radford, the deputy editor of Skeptical Inquirer magazine, calls such experiences hypnoponic and hypnotic hallucinations. These vivid hallucinations, which can be sexual, are common to people who are going in and out of sleep. They're also usually harmless, Radford said in a 2014 article for Seekers. Few people who are visited by these seductive specters complain about it. So if you're experiencing it, there's a little fear.
Wow.
Sex with a ghost.
All right.
We've been reading a lot of those this year.
Yeah.
The lady had sex with a pirate ghost, got married to a pirate ghost.
Yeah.
Supposedly is pregnant by a pirate ghost, and
I still don't.
And then we had another one that's got divorced by a pirate ghost. So I have no idea.
Yeah, why not just add that one too? All right. For more than a decade, our guest had been researching in the paranormal field with his team, 4-State Paranormal. His passion has crossed with his interest of filming when he started a web series called Haunting History, which is currently in its 5th season. In 2017, he branched out into the world of film by creating his first documentary film entitled Into the Light, an exploration of the spook light phenomenon, and was recently followed up by a sequel, Into the Light 2. He is also is a podcast host of the Paranormal Frequencies. His films and shows can be found on VidiSpace, Amazon Prime, and other digital outlets. Our guest tonight is none other than David Glidden. How you doing tonight, David?
Guys, I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all?
Can't complain.
No, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
I'm just reeling from the storms that we had over here this past week. It was nice straight line winds that were about the same force of a tornado. Took some trees down and been cleaning up, doing all that good stuff.
Oh, wow. Where are you at? Where are you located?
About an hour south of Joplin, Missouri.
Oh, okay. I know where you're at.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I feel sorry for the folks in the Bahamas, that's for sure.
Yeah. My aunt's, she lives down in Florida, and she decided to stick it out and everything, but I don't know.
Man, you got to be totally brave to stick it out.
Brave or stupid, I don't know.
I'd go to Disney World.
Right? Yeah, we found out that if you are at Disney World and you're staying at the Disney resort, they lock down the resort and they basically have you have a good time there inside the resort because A, the building has been built to withstand a Category 5 hurricane. It has backup generators that will kick in if the power goes off.
That lasts us 5 to 6 days.
Yeah. They have plenty of food, water. Basically, you can have your vacation inside the resort until the storm blows over.
So basically, when the zombie apocalypse hits, everybody go to Disney World.
Yes!
That's where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going. I was like, when the zombie apocalypse happens, I am going to the Disneyland resort. You sure damn skippy.
Wow. Hook up with the mouse.
Right?
They're going to hook up with a mouse?
Yes, I am. I'll say, hey, how's it going? We're going to borrow that cheese.
You're just weird. I had a question about the resort anyway because the monorail goes through it. So that means they have to have some type of a steel door that goes down to block both of those entrances.
Hmm.
And then the thing is, I was thinking that if you have a Category 5, it's going to blow that monorail track over. And if it's connected to the resort, well, it's just going to put a gaping hole in it.
Right? Unless there's some kind of steel reinforcement.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I said that or they have a way of disconnecting the rail from the building.
Heck, I don't know.
I mean, like a drawbridge type thing.
A drawbridge?
Well, I mean, they could have a retractable track or they could have something where they could press buttons that could cause where there's not a connection of some sort.
The monorail track goes up into the air. Next thing you know, the monorail goes over the resort. Whee! Airborne. Oh, man. So, let's see. We're going to have to get into to talk about this Season 5 of Haunting History. Where can people actually see that?
Right now, we're still in filming, but we've got a couple episodes filmed already. We're doing something kind of different with this season.
Mm-hmm.
We have our show on YouTube, which is free for everybody to watch.
Right.
It's usually a 30-minute show, so people can still see it there. But we're also putting it on VidiSpace, and the episodes we're putting on VidiSpace are going to be an hour long. So there's more footage for people to see.
So on your YouTube channel, you already have seasons 1 through 4.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
With there's some extra episodes in there too. If people go to the Haunting History page, the Facebook or YouTube channel, and they click the playlist, there's every season's in a different playlist, and then there's one that's extras. It's got some extra videos.
Oh, okay, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, currently right now we're in season 4 of the Paranormal Journey to the Unknown, and currently network scouting for season 2 and 3. So as soon as those get picked up, well, then they'll actually be out on the network. But as of now, I can't release them because they're currently in scouting.
No, man. Get it all tied up in all the paperwork. It makes things hard.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So while that's going on, we're going to go ahead and film Truth or Legends in Your Hometown, which is our new show.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we always ask all of our guests these lovely questions, and we also get, different answers. But how long have you been a paranormal investigator?
2 days. No.
What?
Yep, 2 days. No, I've actually been doing this since 2006.
Okay.
So, been a couple years.
Wow. It's like, I went and saw Ghostbusters, and then I went out and bought me a proton pack and a jumpsuit, and I'm a ghost hunter.
That's exactly how it happened.
And that was done in 3 hours. No.
Right? And then I said, I'm not getting paid enough. I quit.
Right?
And then I got the bright idea to go into filming because I was going to make a bunch of money there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's really basically the best place to be. You don't have to worry about any drama, any issues, because you're basically in your own little world doing the filming, and you don't have to worry about what other people think because you're not really showing it as you're doing it. It's just when the product is done, then they can see it. Then they can gripe all about it if they want.
Mm-hmm. In all reality, like, I have my reasons why I got into the paranormal and everything, but getting into the filming aspect of it was more for my own pleasure than it was for everybody else's at first. With Haunting History, the reason we started filming that show was like as an investigator, you go to all these historical locations, but you start realizing that a lot of these locations aren't funded by like government. They're not getting any kind of funding or anything. They're just museums that get donations, or they do tours or something to try to raise money.
Right.
So I know down in this area we've got a lot of historic places that nobody knows about and nobody goes to. So I thought it would be an awesome idea to maybe put a show together that showcases the history of these locations and try to encourage people to get out and go visit these places, because if they don't, one day these places are going to be gone and we never knew they were in our backyard.
That is true. That is true, and that's a great idea. So, question.
Yes.
How did you go from... Because I know these are two separate entities. You go from paranormal to spooklight. How did you get into the spooklight?
Well, technically, the spooklight is paranormal. Since I live near Joplin, Missouri, we've got the what's known as the Joplin Spooklight or the Devil's Promenade. There's a whole bunch of names for it, and it's a pretty well-known phenomenon. And what that is this light anomaly that shows up in this area outside of Joplin, Missouri. It's closer to Quapaw, Oklahoma. And people for years, hundreds of years, have been seeing this light, and nobody knows what it is. The Army Corps of Engineers has been out there to research the light, and they couldn't figure it out. I think their final estimation was that it's a light of an unknown origin. That was what they put in their files. And there's attached to that are a lot of like ghost stories and Native American legends and stuff like that. And when you start digging into it, like into the phenomenon itself, it really does branch out into so many different facets of the paranormal, and people's beliefs on what could be causing the lights. Could stretch from aliens to Bigfoot or ghosts or what have you.
Oh man, he had to say aliens.
Yes. Yeah. Our second film, we introduce a new theory about the lights that kind of branches out into some of the other paranormal venues. So it's pretty fascinating stuff.
But you guys have actually captured it.
On the first film, we went to 3 different locations, one in Iowa, the one here in Joplin, and then one in the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina.
Okay.
And we were actually able to capture the Brown Mountain Lights on thermal imaging with our video camera and on still photography.
Okay.
And then the second film, we actually captured what could possibly be the light here in Joplin. So, I mean, it was... I felt like with the first film, everything laid out the way it was supposed to, and it just kind of, it's like just escalates all the way through the film. So it played out perfectly for us.
Okay. And you've got, Have You Heard on your crew, right?
Yes, Mr. Josh Heard. Yeah, Josh and I, we've been friends for a couple of years now, and I brought him down to Joplin to check out the spooklight before we even made the film. And this is about the time I was kicking the idea around in my head. And I knew he was kind of getting into filming too. So I got to thinking, I've researched enough that I know that nobody else had done a feature-length documentary on the subject. And I asked Josh if he'd be interested in being a part of it, and he said absolutely, and we just went ahead and started shooting and running with it.
Yeah, I've watched part of the second one. I haven't seen the first one yet, which really I'm supposed to watch the first one to jump to the second one, but I decided to start on the second one. I don't know why. I was just flicking on through, and I'm like, oh, hey, click.
Right.
So...
Now, I don't know how far you got into the second one, but once you get all the way through, everything will start making sense.
You were currently at the Native American Festival.
Oh, the powwow. Okay.
Yeah.
We're still in Joplin. All right. So
Yep.
the second location is going to blow your mind.
Okay, I'll have to turn it back on and watch some more of it.
It's going to take a 90-degree left turn.
Uh-oh.
You'll be surprised.
Okay, so since you've been in the paranormal since 2006, when did you become interested in the paranormal? I mean, just how did it pop into your head? Did you have a childhood experience? Because you just said earlier you do have a reason why you got into the paranormal.
So it's a little bit of a long, drawn-out reason. But so I'm the youngest of 5 boys.
Okay.
And I got beat up and picked on a lot when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
And so my older brothers, they were letting me watch like horror movies and stuff like that, scaring the crap out of me. And
Nice.
I mean, by the age of 6, I was watching the Faces of Death movies.
Oh, my God.
If anybody knows what those are, it's pretty much snuff films. It's basically a series of people dying or killing themselves and stuff like that. Real footage.
It's bad.
So yeah, so they let me watch that, and I developed a interest in the macabre, and my family's always been open. You know, we'd always tell ghost stories or talk about UFOs and stuff like that. So It wasn't like we were shunned away from that. So that's always been there in my family. But by the time I was 16, one of my older brothers had passed away in a car accident. And not too long afterwards, I ended up having probably the most vivid and lucid dream I've ever had, where he came to visit me, and we talked and everything, and it was so realistic. By the time I woke up, I was sobbing. So that always stuck with me. And, of course, not too far along after that, the movie White Noise had come out.
Oh, yeah.
And that introduced me to the whole EVP thing, the communication aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
And that always interested me. And I ended up buying like my first recorder about that time, and just kind of screwed around with that a little bit. But it wasn't until, of course, Ghost Hunters had come out where I actually seen that people were going out and doing this.
Right.
And then I thought to myself, okay, well, I wonder if there's anything to this. So I grabbed a buddy of mine and a couple girls, and we went out to a cemetery like everybody else would do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were pretty much scaring the crap out of ourselves, like freaking out over the light reflections off the headstones and stuff like that. And so we were leaving, and Mike, he's like 6'4" and about 250 pounds. I mean, he's a big guy. Sitting in the passenger seat, and he tells me to stop. He wants to look one last time into the cemetery. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I stopped the car, and I started digging through the center console, and as soon as I started doing that, everybody in the car starts freaking out and screaming for me to go, and with Mike next to me, and if he starts screaming, like, drive and freaking out, I'm going to freak out because he's freaking out, because whatever is freaking him out will probably kill him and definitely would kill me. So... So I punched it. We sped out of there. So on the ride home, they were telling me what they seen, and what they described was like this basketball-sized ball of light that was kind of smoky, had a bluish hue to it, and it was coming towards the car.
Oh, wow.
And I was mad. I didn't get to see it.
Right?
And I'm like, well, shit, let's go back next weekend. Let's just go back. And, of course, the girls didn't want to go, but Mike did. He was like, all right, let's go. So the next weekend we go back, and about 30 minutes into being back there, we're walking around, and I see this yellow light just appear off to my left about 20 yards away, and it's sitting there dancing around a little bit, and then it collapses on itself and shows up in front of us about 40 yards away.
Oh, wow.
And dances around for a little bit and collapses on itself. And we never see it again the rest of the night.
Huh.
Fortunately, I did get a picture of it. I have an old picture of it. I rarely show it to anybody because I'm not one of the orb guys.
Right.
Because if I showed it to somebody, they're going to say, oh, it's just an orb. Technically true. But after seeing that, I always wondered what it was that I saw and what would have caused that.
Mm-hmm.
So we went back and we started doing research, and we were looking in our area to see if anybody else did this kind of thing. And we met up with a guy up in Neosho, Missouri. Took us to a house that he was investigating, and had an experience there. And then I just kind of decided, you know what, if we're going to start doing this, let's just start a team. So Mike, myself, and that guy, we started our first team, and we just kind of never looked back.
Fourth State Paranormal?
It was actually Paranormal Investigators of Southwest Missouri. And we went till about 2010. Gene, the guy from Neosho, he had an experience that shook him pretty bad, where he stopped investigating and never has investigated since.
Oh, wow.
He got put through a chair. We were doing a public event, and he had a group with him, and they all watched him get floored, and he went through a chair. And if it wasn't for the chair being where it was at, he would have went out the second floor window. So that scared him pretty bad.
Jeez.
Yeah, the location's amazing. I'm going to say that, but that left him not able to go back and do this kind of thing. Last I talked to him, he still tells me that he still sees the figure that he had seen whenever he got floored. And then Mike also left the group because he was focusing on his family more, and he didn't want to try to mix the two.
Right.
So at that point, it was me and another investigator that was in training, and I was about to hang it up, and he talked me out of it. And I just decided, if I'm going to keep going, I'm not going to go under the same name without those two guys. So I just went ahead and changed the name to Fourth State Paranormal, and just been running with it since.
Okay.
Okay, well, since you have gotten into teams and investigating and stuff, what was your first case? Was it residential or was it public?
It was residential. The house that we investigated with Gene the very first time, we went back to that a couple times, and was trying to help collect evidence and trying to figure out who was there. And from there, we branched out, started looking at different locations in our area that are rumored to be haunted, and we would just kind of hit those up and just check them out. I was never a fan of outdoor investigations. I'm still not, but I was never a fan because of all the contamination that you get.
Mm-hmm. Oh, most definitely.
So we shied away from that. There was only maybe one or two places outdoors that we'd actually, maybe thinking back on it, maybe a handful of places that were outdoors that we investigated, but for the most part, we stayed indoors.
Yeah, Sloth Furnace is one of them.
Yeah. That's one of the places I would love to go investigate, even though it's partially outdoors.
Yep. So it's like all EVPs are just going to go right out the window, so all you're really going to have is just video if you get anything.
Yeah, if not that, then I'd just be there for the personal experience.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the strangest case you've ever dealt with?
Strangest case?
Yeah.
Something. As in stuff where we actually caught activity, or stuff that we weird homeowners, or.
Well, we've had past guests. It talks about a weird homeowner, but they've also talked about a location that made them think twice.
It blew their mind.
It just, something that just kind of puts you out in left field, if you know what I mean.
Well, I guess on those terms, I would have to say the weirdest place, and there's a reason for the weirdness, and I'll explain it, would have to be the Garnett House, Garnett, Oklahoma.
Okay.
It's owned by Justin Spurrier and Rob Garcia. But the reason why I would say it's the weirdest place is because the activity that I get there is unlike anything I've ever experienced. It seems whatever is there actually responds to me.
Okay.
It does things when I ask it to.
Oh, well, that's cool.
I've got, and apparently it's only me that it does this for, but I've got a live stream that I did. It's on our YouTube channel. It's called Fun at the Garnett House or something like that. I was showing Into the Light in the town north of Garnett, and Justin and Rob came up and they talked me into coming down to the house, and I'd gone down there and we started investigating. So the first hour and a half is me, Justin, and Rob. Then Rob leaves, and then for another hour is myself and Justin. And then Justin leaves, and then it's just me in the house all by myself. And that's when things start picking up, and it starts doing things on command. And I even showed Justin, like Justin popped in on the live stream feed, just checking in to see how things were going. I was like, dude, whatever is here, it is doing stuff when I ask it to. And I was like, watch this. So I ask it, to make a noise. It does this bang downstairs. And then I asked it to let us hear it. And I tell it, we want to hear your voice. And then you hear this hiss come over the audio.
Huh.
And it's not the first hiss in that stream either. Like, there's another one. Plus, it was setting off these Furbies. But when you go in the room where the Furby is, they weren't going off.
Well, we definitely know about Furbies.
Oh, yeah, we've got one.
We used one over at St. Albans Sanatorium. We put it in Jacob's room, and the darn thing spun.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why we used it, because, A, it has to have social interaction, so you have to physically touch it and to make it do whatever. And I was like, okay, Jacob, if you want to play with the Furby, her name is Dika, which means little peanut, but in their language is Dika. I said, if you want to feed her, you put your finger in her mouth, and it'll go, which it did. And I said, if you want to tickle her or make her laugh, just tickle her tummy. When then all of a sudden, we sat back, and you could hear that she was getting fed, and then tickled her. And then
now there was one night at the Garnett House. John and myself, we were filming Haunting History, and Justin had one of the Furbies up on a shelf, and John and I were in this room, and we start talking about, well, it's getting late, we should probably just go ahead and go to bed, long drive in the morning. Well, the Furby turns on and starts talking about going to sleep. Like, how is it, like, I'm not an expert on Furbies, but how does it pick up what you're saying and start talking about that particular subject? But I was also going to say, in regards to this, whatever this entity is that's at that house, responding to me, it's not just that one night. It's been on multiple occasions, and the first episode of Haunting History Season 5 is the Garnett House. And not only does it happen again, but one of the guys that was a guest of ours, he'd been there before, never experienced anything, so he didn't think there was anything there. Well, I got it to interact with him whenever I asked it to, and totally changed his outlook on the Garnett House. So I'm waiting to get that out there. It's going to be exciting.
That's pretty cool. But what I was going to say is, with our Furby, if you're watching it on camera, it actually spun. It was facing one way, and the next thing you know, it faces another way. And it just totally blew our mind. I'm just like, what? That was awesome. I couldn't believe that.
Right.
But it happened in one frame.
Oh, wow.
One frame it was facing one way, and the next thing you know, it's another way.
Huh.
So that was awesome. Oh, man. So, do you believe some people are more perceptive to paranormal activities than other people?
I think some are. I also think, the longer you're in this field, the more you start opening up and you start getting to the point where you're able to filter out what's possibly paranormal from the BS. And I think when you start getting to that point, when you're in a location, I think this is probably the other aspect of it that has to hold true too, is I think, the comfort level at a certain location is going to play a big role in that.
Okay.
Is there a specific items you like to use on vet investigations? Like, what do you do to communicate with spirits?
You got to go with the basics. The recorder, and of course I'll have my camera, but other than that, I really go out there for my own personal experience anymore. I don't feel like I really have anything to prove to anybody at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, I investigate for myself. I feel like I've answered all the questions I had going into this. Like I've come up with my own satisfactory answers. So there's really nothing for me in that fashion. Now it's just more research and getting more experiences. And whenever I do try to communicate, I do experiments. I do like to try experiments because obviously that's how we're going to further the field, is if we're able to do multiple experiments, and if something comes up where it's a constant, we've got something new to go on. But you just can't beat going in alone and kind of opening yourself up and going in with the right attitude, right personality, and just trying to talk to them like they were a living human being.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that whenever we go to a location. See, people will ask us, it's like, well, how do you communicate with people? I'm like, well, you got to think about it. They were once living, so they're going to want to be treated basically the same way they were when they were living. So just talk to them like you're talking to your friend, or just, you're sitting on a couch and you're talking to a buddy and you're just carrying on a conversation. That's the exact same way you do it to them. Just don't do like, why'd you die? Are you still here? I mean, just talk to them.
As you get into investigating, after a while, you start realizing the best times that you pick up EVPs is when you're not paying attention, when you first get there, and you're setting up and you're just BSing with your friends and, setting everything up.
Yep.
That's the best time to capture EVPs because, number one, you're relaxed and you're just having fun. When you get all stressful and tense, like, oh, it's investigation time, let's get in it. If you start getting in that mode, you're all tense, and it's like you said, you're dealing with a person. So if you're tense and you're talking to me, and I can feel that tenseness, that anxiety, that's going to put me off, Right. So imagine going into a spirit's home, quote unquote home, and being that way, and just kind of putting that spirit off. I mean, that's how it is, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there've been times when we're out investigating, and see, the deal is, we do everything when it comes to the show. It's not just roll on up, unload, and boom, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
No. We roll on up, we have to unload, we have to set stuff up for the interviews, and then after we're done doing the interview, then we do the walkthrough, we get the drone in the air, we shoot B-roll, and then come back and start setting up base camp. But see, during all that time, unfortunately, there is no camera running.
Yep.
And the strange things always happen whenever there is no camera present.
Yep. Now, I have a theory on that, too.
Okay.
And I think you've seen what I was talking about at the Dog Patch conference. With the double slit experiment, when the particles were behaving differently because the scientists were trying to observe their behavior, I think that kind of falls in line with the way the paranormal works. You don't often capture stuff on film.
Right.
So when we go into these locations and we set up all these cameras and stuff, we have to wonder, are we changing the way that the energy is behaving or the way the energy is able to be manipulated or used? So are we making it harder for entities to do anything than if we're not setting up?
True. Well, one idea I did come up with, and we haven't really implemented it, but I figured, what the hell, we ought to try it, is basically have everything outside ready to go, so to speak. You have not a tripod, but a stand that has your camera on it, and it's already recording.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two people. They go on in, you place that camera right away, and you don't have to worry about it because, A, it's already recording, and then walk out and just let that sucker run.
Yeah, I've seen something like that implemented with a group out of Virginia. They've got a show called Paranormal Quest, and they'll set up their cameras and then they'll just leave for a couple hours and just let it roll and see if it picks up anything. And sometimes they get lucky with some stuff, and
right.
But for the most, it's hit and miss like anything else.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you actually have the stuff already recording outside, because see, they can see you outside, but it's completely different than when you go inside. So if you already have two cameras ready to go, you basically go into the location and plop that sucker down and leave, and then go get the other cameras or do whatever you're going to do. That one is already placed, or you can put a recorder somewhere. So that way you're basically arming that section of the location to either be videotaped or recorded via audio.
Right.
So just some things that we basically learn from the learning curve of doing this. So, heck, we've been doing it for, 6.5 years, something like that, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to experiment. You got to try whatever it takes and see what you can get.
Well, do you know Paul Browning? You ever heard of him?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, well, he came up with an idea. I thought about doing it, but I just figured it would be kind of weird. But he actually did it, and the outcome was pretty amazing. His team were dressed in painters' outfits. And inside their paint pails were cameras and recorders. So basically, they went in like they were the paint crew. They were painters. Undercover. So they're setting up ladders and drop cloths, and they're getting their paintbrushes out, and at the same time they're placing cameras. And then they leave after they do that, because basically they set the whole place up, and then they leave and go outside, disrobe of the painter's outfit, and then go in 2 hours with their cameras ready to go.
I wonder how that's working out for him.
The first time he did that, he said it was phenomenal. They got apparitions, shadows that walked by the cameras and everything, because they were too busy, like he said, they were too busy wondering what they were doing with those buckets and paintbrushes and what are you doing to my house, Are you?
Right.
It's like they're going to paint it. They're going to do something, but they didn't really pay attention to all the cameras and recorders getting placed at the same time. And that worked out pretty good. I mean, he got some kick-ass EVPs, and the video was just crazy. And he even added it into his book for, newbies to go out and try it. Because, hey, if it worked for him, it should work for others. But you just got to implement it the same way he did, so to speak. Well,
under the premise of, doing any kind of modification to a home supposedly kicks up activity, that... If you're making them believe that you're going to alter their home, that could possibly kick it up.
Yep.
So I can see where he's going with that.
Yeah. So our listeners, if you guys are new to the paranormal field and you want to have some advice on what you should do for your first location, there you go. Pretend to be painters. So, have you ever had anybody come up to you and tell you that they're scared of the supernatural and paranormal? I mean, what do you tell them to make them kind of sort of feel better about it?
The only person that's actually told me they're scared about it is my girlfriend, and I just use it to scare her. For the most part, I mean, it's everybody that comes up to me is, a fan of the paranormal in some form or fashion. So, yeah, I don't really get that a whole lot.
Oh, we got it when we were at the bash. We were at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. Oh, man, we had a couple people. One lady came up. She goes, I am just so afraid of ghosts. Don't you get afraid of ghosts? No.
We live with one.
I was like, yeah, I know, right? I was like, I was actually filming Facebook Live. I was on Facebook Live, Paula was on Facebook Live, and we were inside the Massac County Courthouse in jail in Metropolis, Illinois. I got pushed down the stairs carrying a $4,000 camera.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, exactly.
And I bet you were more worried about the camera than anything.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I basically slammed against the wall and kind of rode it down so that way I'm going to land on my ass. But, yeah, the camera's fine, but people got to actually see me go zoop, down, diagonal.
I mean, not nice that you got pushed down, but, like, nice that people got to see it.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it was live, so whatever we were doing, they were seeing it live. But, yeah, I was like, oh, my God. And Paula goes, what happened? I'm like, I got pushed. Is the camera okay? That's what she said. Nothing about, are you okay? Is the camera okay?
Well, that's what I'm saying. $4,000 camera, you got to make sure it's okay.
Yeah. So, but that was pretty interesting. So, I'm sure she's got a couple questions for you. Go for it.
What locations have you investigated, and what stands out in your mind the most on some of the places that you've investigated?
Well, a lot of the places I investigate are generally unknowns, or they are at first. This day and age, a place will blow up before you know it. But for the most part, they're unknown places, and I tend to stay here in the Midwest. The best place I've ever investigated, I had the pleasure of doing fundraisers for them, is the Brown Mansion in Coffeyville, Kansas. And they no longer really want to be associated with the paranormal, but they will let some people in to investigate at night for a fee and for a short amount of time. But you can investigate there. But that place is, I've never been to a place where I've experienced everything. Like, you name it, it's been experienced there.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's one of the only places where we've had experiences every time we've gone there, and I've investigated that place about 50 to 70 times. Yeah, so it's always an amazing place, and it does have an intelligent haunt there as well as the residual hauntings. So it's a little bit of everything for everybody.
Okay. Where everything and everything happens all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever experienced anything that terrified you?
I guess walking upstairs behind Barry after he ate Taco Bell. But...
Oh, God.
That's nerve-wracking, I'm telling you. There's been moments that, something will startle you, but anymore, it's nothing really terrifies me. I guess, as far as being worried about something, we had an attachment. I guess it was 2 years ago, I think it was, from Malvern Manor.
Uh-oh.
And, yeah, we had an investigator who started, I don't want to call her possessed, but I think she was channeling.
Okay.
More or less. But, we were there for 2 days, 2 nights, and we slept there. The first night we were investigating, and her whole personality changed. She was getting a little flirtatious with me, and I could tell it wasn't her, she wasn't herself. So John wanted to just kind of see if she was sensitive or something, because she had an experience kind of like this early on, like a few months prior. So John starts provoking in this room with her in it, and you see the anger on her face. She was getting really angry with John and everything, but ultimately she started getting to the point where she was saying that was her room. She wanted to stay in her room and all this, so we removed her from there. And John actually had to physically remove her from that room and we all stayed downstairs. And the next night was about the same. She kept trying to go up into the room, and every chance she could get, she would try to sneak off up to that room.
Huh.
And we were told by a friend of ours who's a psychic medium that she doesn't need to be upstairs. She didn't need to be in the building at all, but since we were staying there, she just had to stay out of the second floor for a while. But on the way back, when we were leaving, she started crying, and she was mad at us because we were taking her away from her home and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, something's totally wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what ended up happening, she was having the feelings and acting out like this, and not only did it start affecting her, but it also started affecting Barry's fiance.
Okay.
She was there for one night, and then it started affecting John's daughter, who had never been to Malvern Manor. She wasn't there. She was at home down here in Missouri, but it was affecting all three of them at the same time. And we ended up trying to do, I think we spent about 3 weeks cleansing the girls and Dawn's home, trying to get rid of this thing. And honestly, in the 13, 14 years that I've been doing this is the first time that's ever happened. That's the first time I've ever had to deal with something like that. And it's an eye-opener because at some point you get to thinking, like, this can't happen. This doesn't happen. People are faking this.
That's true. Well, what are your thoughts on provoking?
On provoking, I still provoke. I'm not like Zach Vegas where I just kind of go off all the time. No, I don't. It's situational. More often than not, I'm not provoking. But if something happens, then I'm gonna kind of push back. But for the most part, I try to go in with a positive attitude, a welcoming attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I want to draw these spirits to me. I want them to be able to, or feel comfortable coming to me and communicating. I want them to be able to feel that way. So, I tend to, from a lot of people that I know, will say that I tend to pick up a lot of EVPs. I tend to have a lot of things happen around me because I kind of put off that vibe, I guess, or I take that approach. But yeah, it's pretty often.
Not everything is a demon.
Right.
And you don't get possessed every episode.
No. Every other episode, that might be another question.
Yeah, he kind of toned down on that, though.
I think he started taking enough crap from everybody. It's like, you know what? Let's scale this back some.
Well, I know, it's like, oh god, I don't feel like myself. Oh, here we go again. Let's change the channel.
Well, I think he's having like Billy Tully and them start doing that now, and it's really starting to get cheesy. I think starting to come across as being cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron started doing it, and next thing you know, let's see, I don't think Dakota did it.
No, Dakota didn't. He did get sick in one episode.
Oh, the Mineral Springs.
Yeah, he did get sick in that, but other than that, no, he never did. Yeah, from what I've seen, it's like Billy is an overactor. And yeah.
Oh man,
it's getting laughable. I still watch Ghost Adventures. I'll admit it. I still watch Ghost Adventures because I love the cinematography.
Well, I only watch it, like I always tell everybody else, I watch all the shows so that way I know what not to do.
Yeah.
But also I like to watch it because, like you're stating with the cinematography, I love how they put it together, the
editing is pretty nice.
Yeah, the editing is awesome. But see, here the sad thing is, the show is basically nothing without having a good editor.
Mm-hmm.
The deal is, you can cut and put things where it was not originally. Yeah. Who's going to be the wiser? Because it'll be so smooth. The transition will be so good. There's no jump cut, and you'll actually think that it is happening for real.
Oh, yeah. Like, you could have, like, 5 experiences in 7 hours and then put them back to back to back to back to back in one 30-minute episode, and it'll look like a crazy night.
Yep. Well, I have seen numerous times, I can kind of sort of pick this up, but when people are using a freaking flashlight, you know, they go ahead and ask their question, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom. I'm like, okay, now we all know it took at least 10 minutes for that thing to come on.
And it didn't, like, just blast on. It, like, fades on a little bit, and then it comes on a little brighter, and then a little brighter.
Yep. Now, I despise the flashlight due to the fact that you have to sit there and unscrew the top, which is totally stupid because it's electrical. It's barely making a contact. Next thing you know, the heat kind of makes it expand so it touches, and boom, it goes on. All right, well, here's the deal. Do it with a mag light, which has a push button on the bottom, and it does not screw off. So, and the reason why I say this is because we were doing Ghostology 101, where we actually present, how to be a ghost hunter and what's involved in it. And then we take the class on an investigation of the mansion. So I said, because I had 4 teenage girls, and they're like giddy. They're like, I want to see a ghost. I want to see a ghost. I hope I see a ghost, like that. So I said, all right, I'm going to do something that I have never done before. I'm going to use the flashlight. And I heard one guy go, ah. And I said, yeah, I agree with you, but look at this flashlight. And I gave it to him. You cannot unscrew the top. I said, the only way this flashlight can go on is if you physically push the button on the bottom. And he goes, oh, that's not going to work. I go, well, yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I put it down on the ground. Those 4 teenagers looked at each other and said, if that sucker goes on, I'm going through the window. So I started asking questions. I'm like, is this Maggie's room? Are you in here with us? If you are, oh God, here I go. But go ahead and turn the flashlight on. And I could see the girls kind of getting closer and closer to each other, and the damn thing went on. I was shocked. I'm just like, wow, it worked. And they're like, we're gone. But yeah, that's the only way I will ever believe the flashlight thing would work, is if you don't have to sit there and screw anything. You just leave it the way it is and get a push button one of those heavy duty mag lights. And that damn thing went on. I was in awe. I'm sorry. I was just like, holy shit, it worked.
Yeah. There's a lot of equipment out there right now that I think a lot of people are just kind of, I don't know, putting too much stock in just because of the simplicity of it, and like whatever has to happen to set it off or to appear or whatever is so simple that there's so many false positives that'll throw you up, and people get excited about it. And the SLS camera is probably the biggest one of them all. Like I just saw somebody asked me what I thought of the SLS because they bought 2 of them.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, okay, number 1, you spent way too much money, and number 2, you need to get your money back. What I flat out told her though was, if you just wanted it to look at stick figures, then go ahead. But if you want to use it and try to claim as a ghost, and you want to do like legitimate research, buy the one that Bill Chappell made. Get that software that he made, because that software also has environmental data, and nobody actually pays attention to that. They just look for that stupid stick figure.
Yes.
But pay attention to that environmental data, register it, like record it, so you know if there's any changes. And if the stick figure shows up, see if there's any changes in that data. Log it. You've got to get all the information that you can before you start going, oh, he's standing right there and he's waving at you.
Right?
Because you're shaky with the SLS and you're standing in front of a curtain.
Exactly. All right, well, we are going to go ahead and take a break here. You're listening to the Phantasmic Journey podcast with our awesome guest, David Glidden. So we will be right back after these messages.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. And they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops, the rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this. You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they could be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments. It doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How do you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star, and Shelter Pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open. Don't speak with your mouth full. Keep your elbows off the table. Share your things, play nice, and generally treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting's hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Colin Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. And you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon.
And welcome back to the Phantasmic Journey podcast. We're coming to you live from the PGH Studios. Syndication brought to you in part by WGKC and Live 365. You can listen to the broadcast live via the Live 365 app by using your Apple or Android phone. Or you can go ahead and go to the web, www.live365.com, and search for WGKC. Now let's get back to our guest here. We are talking to VidiSpace, Amazon Prime, documentary film creator, David Glidden. And welcome back, David. We were talking about different devices, and what we left off on was the SLS camera.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, do you know that the SLS camera is not really a Kinect camera?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A lot of people don't know that. They actually think it is the Kinect camera, the Kinect version 1 and version 2, and actually it's not. It's some other type of camera, which you can't really get your hands on because I think Bill Chappell bought them all.
Yeah, probably. The guy's worth quite a bit now.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I seen it, I'm trying to remember what the heck it was. I believe it starts with a P. But the software is FAST, FAAST. I've actually experimented with that, which is kind of cool. But of course, like you stated earlier, he has the ones that has the barometric pressure, it has temperature, and it has a whole bunch of other stuff on there, which is kind of cool. But you have to pay attention to that too, as well as looking for stick figures.
Right. Yeah. See, that's always been a pet peeve of mine. Is just how people just buy a piece of equipment because they've seen it on Ghost Adventures or something, and they're like, "Oh, this is cool. I'm gonna go out and capture a ghost."
Yeah. The only thing is people have to learn to experiment with the Kinect camera or the SLS camera due to the fact that A, it's going to map a figure on your vacuum cleaner, your dresser, a trash can, a plant, a tree, flower, a vase, basically almost anything. Now, if you're in a hallway and there is nothing there to obstruct the view, and you get a stick figure on the wall and there's nothing there protruding from it that can actually make it map that, then I would say 50-50 chance you actually possibly captured something. But other than that, it usually has to be like out in the open.
Right.
And it's usually mapping a couch or a chair or a stuffed animal. So...
Yeah, another piece of equipment, whenever I do some of my presentations, this is something I always point out to the audiences. I ask everybody who's a paranormal investigator or researcher or what have you, and I ask them how familiar are you with your equipment and everything. Then I ask them, how many of you actually know that on your meter there is a record function?
I know that's there. I've never used it, but I'm trying to... I've never really... Well, actually, it did kind of make me wonder what the heck it's for. I'm assuming it records your temperature variations?
It records your high and low EMF and high and low temperatures. So if you get an EMF spike or a temperature spike, it'll record that. So what I like to do is I'll put it up on a tripod, set it in a certain room or something, hit that record, and I'll leave it there for like an hour or so. Come back, check it, from time to time, see if there's been any fluctuations, and it's kind of neat to have that. But it's even more important to know your equipment. That's something I try to emphasize to a lot of people. Is it goes back to the whole SLS or just all your equipment. Is to, when you're buying stuff like that, at least take the time, learn a little bit about it, and like you said, experiment with it. But make sure you know what you're doing with it, because you might end up saving yourself a lot of false positives.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just sparked my curiosity. I went ahead, I'm holding my Mel 870 4R REM, and I see power, rec/enter, hold/ESC, range/fast, unit, and then backlight/set. So if you push record, how do you play it back?
You hit the record button again.
So that's your play button.
It basically will tell you your max, and then it'll tell you your minimum.
Huh.
And then, hold it down and it'll stop recording. It should, I'm holding mine too.
You got yours in your hand too?
Yep.
I heard something beeping. I'm sitting there going, "No, wait a minute, mine's off. What the hell?"
Yeah. So for those that are listening, if you when you have it on, you hit that record button and just leave it. Before you hit that record button, I suggest for everybody to let it sit still for about 10 seconds. Let it get down to its base. But yeah, just pop that record on, leave it, come back to it, hit that record button again, and it'll tell you your max temperature, max EMF, and your minimum. After you hit it again, it'll tell you your minimum temperature and minimum EMF.
Now, it won't have anything to do with the REM, though. It won't let you know that it's been triggered?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe it does.
Let me try. I'll turn mine on to see. No, it's not.
Yeah, I think it's just with the digital readouts there. But it's an interesting and useful little option on the millimeter.
Yeah, no doubt. I did not know that was there. And then you just push... Oh, wait a minute. I pushed record again, and then it popped up with max.
Mm-hmm. That's your max EMF and max temperature. Push it again, it'll say min.
Yep.
For your minimum, and then push it again, and it'll or hold it down, and it'll take the record off.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to try that. I never knew that. I figured it had something to do with just recording your temperature, but I'm just like, okay, it kind of defeats the purpose if you basically put this like you're stating, put it on a tripod and just let it record when you don't have anything on it that'll actually give you a timestamp when it goes off.
Right.
So that kind of defeats the purpose there, so that's probably the reason why I never really investigated it any further, but now since I know, I'm going to put a camera on it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, like, the best thing for that, like I said, is you just get to see if there's any fluctuations, and that's about it. But as far as the timestamp, you would have to have a camera on it, or some kind of recordable visual.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you go ahead and let that sucker run, and all of a sudden you're looking at the data going, well, damn, that thing jumped up to 240. When was that? What happened? What was around it? You know?
Yeah.
So theoretically, you can't use that as evidence because you don't know what triggered it.
Now, you couldn't use it as submissible evidence, but you could use it to help yourself as far as your investigation goes.
Yeah.
Like, if something triggered it, then you know something's in there creating that.
So, what other devices? Actually, what are your thoughts on using the REM pods?
I'm not a big expert on the REM pods, but from what I've been told, the REM pods are actually rather legitimate. The fields that it actually picks up, those are legitimate fields and everything, and when they do go off, from what I've been told, there's generally a good reason for it going off that might be paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
If not, just like, I don't know if it's something environmental that can set it off. The guy that I would suggest, I always tell people, if you want to talk about REM pods, one guy I always suggest talking to is, crap, now his name's escaping me. Lives up in Chicago, and I can't think of his freaking name.
The guy that creates them?
No.
Oh.
I almost had it.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out here. I'll let you know. Robert Veach. That's it. Robert Veach.
Oh, God, yeah. He does some crazy experiments with different devices that he creates.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, some of the things I've seen. I think he came out with something that was like, oh, God, what is that? It's that, the Apollo, no. The dome microphone. Parametric?
Oh, the parabolic dish?
Parabolic, yeah. How he made one of those, used it in a cemetery, had it set up that once it detected something, it snapped a picture in that direction.
Huh.
That was pretty freaking cool.
I haven't seen that. There's one that he created I thought would be really interesting to use out in the field, and it was a squelch for the K2 meter. And basically what it did was it squelched radio frequencies from setting off your K2 meter, but this K2 meter was also running audio, so whatever was coming through... Well, let me backtrack a little bit. He put the PSB7, hooked it up to a K2 meter with a squelch, so the PSB7 would do its sweep, and like the squelch on it would take out a lot of the static,
right?
A lot of the crap audio that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever something would come through, it would register on the K2 meter. So if something paranormal were to come through on the PSB7, it shouldn't set off the K2 meter if it's not a radio frequency.
Okay.
So you would be able to tell what's radio frequency and what's not. Is basically what he did. And I think that's probably one of the smartest things I've seen somebody do with the PSB7 and K2.
Yeah. Also, on the same token of that, he didn't create it. I'm trying to remember who the heck created it, but it's something else to take on an investigation for you to use is the battery drainer meter.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that on Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, now that thing, I've got schematics to build one, but it's not quite the one that I want. But I want to actually build one of those and take it on an investigation, because that way you can actually see what is draining your batteries.
Right.
So
you get a gauge on how fast it's actually draining, if it's going faster than a standard battery would, or
exactly. I mean, there's so many devices that are out there, but yet if you don't experiment with them, learn how to use them, basically like how you just taught me about the record on the millimeter, which I knew was there, but I thought it was for just recording temperatures. And like I stated earlier, I mean, if you don't have a timestamp on it, it really defeats the purpose of even putting record on it, because you have no proof what time it happened. But, all these other devices that are out there, if you actually get a better understanding of what makes them tick and how to use them, because there's a lot of new teams that are just coming out of the woodwork. They're buying stuff, and once the little light goes blinky, blinky, and it goes beepy, beepy, they're like, oh, it's a spirit!
Gotta have it. They see it on Ghost Adventures. Gotta have it.
Right? Oh,
they used it. It must work.
Oh, geez. I've heard that, too.
Really?
I've actually heard that. It was the, oh, God, which device was it? It was, it's the one device that actually detected gas, carbon monoxide.
Uh-huh.
And it had a whole bunch of other things on there it would actually detect. And when Zach cut one, it actually ran off because it detected carbon monoxide.
Right.
And I heard someone say, hey, it worked on that show, so it must work.
Right.
Like, jeez. So, let's see. We've already talked about devices. What are your thoughts on... I don't know if you've ever tried them or not, but have you tried any of these apps from the different creators on like a tablet? I wouldn't say a phone, because the phone actually has Wi-Fi and it can actually broadcast. I'm talking about on a tablet where you can't broadcast a cellular signal.
Well, on a tablet you can broadcast.
Well, if it's an iPad, but
the other thing is those programs. I'm just not a fan. I don't trust the people that build the programs, because there's so many of them out there, and so many of the apps that are strictly built for entertainment purposes. And with so many of them out there, I just don't trust them. I just don't trust them.
We've had a couple that we've actually tested, and the main ones that we have used is, of course, the EchoVox. Everybody's used that. We've used two apps from a guy, Brian Holloway, in the UK. It's called the Speculo. Mm-hmm. And the app is pretty cool, because a long, long time ago, probably 3 years ago, I went to Waverly Hills, and I invited another team with us. It was Darkness Paranormal Society, so it was Eric Smith and his team. And he was inside the morgue. He's doing a DVP session using the SB7 and the Altec Lansing speaker, so he's got his hands over it like Aaron does.
Yeah.
And he's asking questions like, what room am I standing in? Releases his hand and it goes, morgue. And I'm about to walk through the threshold into the morgue, and then it goes, Gavin. He's like, dude, it said your name. Exactly how I said it. And last year, was it last year we went? Last year, right? Or this year? We went to Waverly Hills.
Waverly Hills was last year.
Last year.
Yeah, April of 2018.
Yeah, last year we went to Waverly Hills. It was my second time, Paula's first time. And we were filming there, and what we did is we decided to bring 10 investigators to come with us, so that way we could film them and show our viewers the different methodologies that each of these investigators possess. Because everybody's investigative skills is going to be completely different. I mean, well,
right.
we would hope they would be.
Right.
But I explained the whole thing that happened when we were in the morgue 3 years ago. And I was explaining to everybody that was there, because we actually had a team. I had a team, and Joe had a team. So my team, we were in the morgue. I did not fire up the app yet while I was talking about this. So it is still off, okay? I stated the whole story. I climb into the body drawer, pull out the tablet, turn it on, fire the app up. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I was here 3 years ago. I had a buddy that was standing on the outside over there, and I pointed, and I said, he asked a question and said, what room are we standing in? I go, do you remember that? And if you do, can you tell me what came across the speaker? And all of a sudden the specular said, morgue. I'm looking at everybody going, cool. I go, okay, hold on. Let's not get too happy. I said, all right, the biggest question of all. I walked through the threshold into the morgue, and you said my name. What is my name? And it said, Gavin. 3 cameras picked it up, and 2 digital recorders picked it up, and it was on that app.
Nice.
Oh, man, I got chills. But that was awesome. That was an app that Brian Holloway put together in the UK. It's the best app I have ever used. And then he came up with another one that precedes that one called Speculo 2. So they both work phenomenally well.
Now, the one thing, like I said, with a lot of these apps, just the fact that there's so many of them out there that are programmed for entertainment uses only, that's not to say that technology isn't going to help lead us in any new discoveries or anything new, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there's just so much of it out there right now that's flooding the market, and it's weeding them out is going to be is one of the biggest challenges, I think, for anybody that's looking for an app or something to use.
That's
because
true.
If you said it yourself, you have events or something where you got people coming in to investigate, and I'm sure you've experienced it where people will pull out their cell phones and they'll start pulling up the Ghost app or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah. I had 2 people that actually pulled out their phones, and I said, please tell me you're not pulling up a Ghost app. And one of them put her phone away and said, no. Oh, man. But there is one app that Paula likes, and we use it in Gettysburg.
Not just Gettysburg. I use it at 2 other places, too, and it validates
Oh, I know, but
stuff.
I'm talking about the time we were at Gettysburg.
Oh.
And what's it called? Ghost Hunter Tools or something like that?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's called Ghost Hunter Tools. It has a hand. And it's really weird. But we were... Let's see, where were we? You know the story. Where were we?
Oh,
Microphone's over there.
Crap, I gotta remember the part that we were at because
Okay,
Gettysburg is so
microphone's
big.
right there.
Yes, I'm trying to think.
Okay, well, microphone's right there. She's like moving her head all
It's in
on
the
different
Devil's
sides.
Den. It's close
Okay.
to the Devil's Den. It's
Blood Creek.
Blood Creek, that's it.
There we go.
And we used it, and number one, I'm a little bit of an intuitive sensitive. And so when I get in certain areas, I get kind of uncomfortable, or I feel like something is actually watching me or close by me, and I can feel off their feeling of sadness or not, I can feel unhappiness. I can feel like someone's excited. Well, we were in the area and was going down the pathway because there's like a little trail there that crosses over Blood Creek.
And the reason why it's called Blood Creek
is because at the Devil's Den, up above Devil's Den, I forgot the name of the area up there, but all the blood from the soldiers went down the cliff because there were so many deaths and so much, of the battle that the blood just run down the hillside into the creek, and it caused the creek to turn red, and it was red for several days. So they nicknamed it, the Blood Creek. And so we had walked down there, and we had already crossed over the Blood Creek, and we came upon this tree. Everybody was ahead of me. And I said, there's something going on at this tree. And I feel like there's somebody that's close by at this tree. And well, of course, everybody, got their phones out, started taking pictures. And Gavin had his camera, and we started bringing...
I had thermal, are you kidding?
Yeah, he brought the thermal. We turned the thermal on. We walked away from the tree, and then that's when he started seeing something in the distance behind the tree showing up. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I said, you know what? Because everybody was thinking, well, we don't have anything except for the camera. We didn't bring anything for us to... Because we weren't thinking of, ghost hunting or whatever, but we just had brought stuff to just film because I've never been to Gettysburg before. And it was kind of cool to film and take pictures and stuff. I said, hold on a minute. Well, I've got... on my phone, I've got the... where is it at? The ghost... Is it called the ghost detector?
I think it's Ghost Hunter Tools.
No, I think it's called the ghost detector.
Is it?
Yep, it's called the ghost detector.
Oh, okay.
And I brought that out, and the deal is I'm always 50-50 on apps, but that one, it started bringing up stuff that would happen at Gettysburg. Like, it talked about the blood, it talked about the death, it talked about soldiers.
He was shot, he was hurt, and what was the other one? Shot, hurt,
and we got cold, and then we got a couple of names. I don't remember what the names are now.
We actually got names on the thing.
Let's see if it's got a...
But what I got on the thermal was, it looked like that somebody was coming toward us over the creek, and there's nobody over there. And you could actually see them walking across the creek coming our direction.
And it got pushed. Yeah, well, I don't have all of them on here, but we got the word run. We got the word push.
I don't even know when you did that.
That was the tail end of it.
Oh, and the other thing was, it was kind of weird. It told us to watch this. And when we got to a certain area, it said stop. And all of a sudden we heard this strange sound. I still don't even know what the heck that sound was. And then we started getting other activity where it sounded like somebody was walking through the brush. And I'm like, God, I hope it's not a tiger or a cougar or a bear. But no, it wasn't. And that's when this thing started giving us more things. So it was basically a soldier that got shot by the tree. He was basically sitting there, we're assuming, or laying there. And then on the other side, there was an area where he had his other soldiers were just chilling by an overturned tree. And we could actually see that there were 3 spots over there, which we later debunked it was water, because it was warm water. How it got onto those stones, I'll never know, because it didn't rain. That was kind of weird. But she used that app, and, it did validate a lot.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. It was interesting. Got something else?
No. I was just trying to think of... But I just remember that we used that app there, and I used the app at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, too.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
You were down at the very end down there, and me and Renee was up at the top.
Okay.
And she knows all the history that was actually researched. She did the full-fledged research.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever...
on OSPH.
Have you ever been there? Old South Pittsburgh Hospital?
I have not. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I really would love to get in there, but yeah, I just haven't been able to.
Man, that place is awesome.
Well, see, there was a doctor that died in the elevator.
How did he die in the elevator?
He had a heart attack. He had a massive heart attack, and he died in the elevator.
Great way to go.
And the deal is, the name of the doctor has never been released. So Renee knew who the doctor was because of all of her research, but publicly it hadn't been released. So I didn't even know the name of the doctor because it was never given to me. And so when we did, I had that app up, and it got really red up there on our end because it's a very long hallway, and we had Gavin down halfway down the hallway with a couple other investigators, and we had an ITC box at the other end of the hallway, and then I was on the other end of the hallway by the elevators, and I took that out, and it started getting really, really red instantly as soon as I turned it on. I was like, well, let's see what this happens. And then it came with, we asked if the doctor is here. We had gotten a yes, and I said, can you give me your name? And we actually got the doctor's name on because I showed it to Renee, and Renee says, yes, that is. And she was just amazed that that app knew that, because nobody in the investigation or the whole team knew about the doctor. Well, knew about the doctor, but didn't know about the doctor's name. Yeah. And it revealed its name on the app.
Wow.
So what, well, actually, let's put it this way. How many places have you been to? Prisons, schools, libraries.
Oh man, that's a lot of places there.
Got a favorite place?
There you go. You got a favorite place?
Yeah, the Brown Mansion in Coffeyville, Kansas.
I have to check that out.
Aside from that, Malvern Manor, the Garnett House is really shooting up there for me.
Okay.
A lot of places are really cool, but like those three places have been kind of like home for me.
So have you been to the Villisca Axe Murder House?
I've gone up there and visited with Johnny a few times, but I haven't investigated there. It's never available whenever I want to go up there.
Okay. The Farrar Elementary School?
Yeah. We did an episode of Haunting History on Farrar.
So you actually got to leave out of there with your footage?
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I heard about your misfortune, but...
Oh, man. 678 gigabytes worth of useless files. I'm still pissed. Oh, man, that is crazy. What about the squirrel cage? You been there?
I have not. I was invited to go up there a while back, and I just couldn't make it. But eventually I'll make my way there.
Yeah, we want to do that one, and we've been invited so many times to go to, we've been invited twice to go to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Couldn't do it due to our filming schedule. We've been invited to the Randolph County Asylum. Couldn't do it. Filming schedule. Like, there's so many places that is on our list. I mean, I know you've been to Waverly.
I have not.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. I figured everybody's been to Waverly at least once.
That's kind of the problem. Everybody's gone to Waverly, and I know it's like quite a bit of money to get everybody there. So
yeah, that's true. It's $1,000 for 10 people, or $1,500 if you want the bunkhouse.
Money is king in the paranormal field, unfortunately.
That is true, unless you have a backer.
Yeah, and again, that backer's got to have money.
Well, usually the backer is always rich.
Yeah, see that's what I'm talking about. Like a lot of the stuff in the paranormal field anymore is become all about money, and it makes it really hard for investigators, especially those that have gotten into it, that are not just going out there for the thrill seeking or anything like that. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's some of us out here that are legitimately trying to do certain things that will help the field, and it's kind of a hindrance when you have to pay $1,000 to go to a place to try to run an experiment.
Right. That's why you go to places that no one's ever touched, and it hasn't been deeply saturated by investigators.
Exactly. Those are my favorites.
Have you ever been to a haunted attraction that was actually haunted?
Yeah, I've been to a couple.
Yeah, which ones were those?
Malvern Manor, number one. Ashmore Estates. And let's see. You know, I'm not going to say it wasn't haunted, but Edinburgh Manor was. We didn't have a very productive night there when we investigated. We didn't have anything happen, so I was a little disappointed. But you know, with the paranormal, you're not going to get it every night.
Right.
First time I ever got scratched was at Melbourne Manor.
I'd believe it. Malvern's an interesting building in its own. It's its own monster.
I have an issue with Hank there.
I think a lot of people have issues with Hank.
Yeah, it was just funny. She's sitting there talking about, you know, why do you taunt women? What's your issue with it? And then all of a sudden she goes, I'm feeling a burning sensation on my back, and I'm like, yes, you got scratched. She goes, although I'm not sharing your enthusiasm, come over here and look.
Right.
Sure enough, she got scratched, one straight down the middle of her back. Okay, here's something I got to ask you. If you ever experienced this totally blows my mind. We were there filming an episode for the Paranormal Journey into the Unknown, and I had Facebook Live running on my phone, and I had people asking me, they're like, hey, you know, we enjoy you doing the Facebook Lives and showing the setups and everything, but can we actually watch the DVR while you guys are filming? I'm like, well, sure. So I put it on a stand and leaned it on down, so you actually got the view of just the DVR screen. So my camera on the phone is filming the DVR screen. Okay. I go into the Melbourne Manor. I'm setting up my thermal and the full spectrum on a chair down Shadow Hallway. Mm-hmm. Paula decides to do something crazy, as in pull up my Facebook Live on her phone while we're in Shadow Hallway. So she's now looking at the feed of the DVR, which I think was a cool idea.
Right.
But I'm finishing up setting up those two cameras, and she goes, Gavin, come here. There's somebody rummaging through your stuff on the table by base camp. I'm like, say what? Nope. And I go look, and sure enough, I can see there is a shadow or a person that is rummaging through my table. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I took off like a beeline. I'm down Shadow Hallway, down the hall, through that living room area, right out through the kitchen, through the door. And guess what? There ain't nobody there. And the thing is, the only way you could actually get to our base camp is you would have to move the two stage lights that are there. Those some bitches are heavy. So unless you're really strong and you can do that without knocking it over, then more power to you. And I walk out there and I notice that nothing has been touched. But I saw it on her phone. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to get a second opinion. I asked people inside the watching the Facebook Live, I said, did you guys happen to see a shadow or a person rummaging through my stuff here at base camp on this table? They all said no. So I'm like, okay. So I had to go through and review the footage on the DVR. Nothing. But I saw it on her phone inside the Melbourne Manor. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
The only part of that I've experienced is the rummaging. We set up in that living room area right by the kitchen.
Yeah.
And we had our base there and all of our gear behind us. And throughout the night, you would hear what sounded like somebody picking up our cases and dropping them.
Yeah.
And we turn around and there's nothing there. Nothing's out of place. Nothing on the DVR system. Mm-hmm. You don't see anything moving. But you sit there with your back turned towards it and you hear like somebody's going through your stuff, like opening cases, shutting cases, picking them up, setting them down. It's I've heard all that before, but never seen anybody going through them.
Yeah, and I told one of our friends, she's a psychic, and she goes, oh, yeah, that was Hank. I'm like, come again? She goes, yeah, that's Hank. He likes to go through people's stuff. So that's probably who was digging through your stuff as well.
Yeah.
But that is just so bizarre that we actually saw it. Well, she saw it, I saw it, so that's two people seeing it on her phone, but nobody else saw it. And to take this a step further, Same damn thing happened at OSR. Me and Joe are inside a tunnel that was dug out underneath East Cell Block, where nobody gets to really go. And we're down deep in this tunnel, and the radio's going off. She's like, "We're seeing an apparition in the boiler room. Come quick. It's a full-figured apparition. We all see it." We all go down there. One of the guys actually took a picture of it from the screen, and they're all sitting there watching it. They saw it develop, form. But guess what? You couldn't see squat on dude's phone, and when I ran back to DVR footage, you didn't see nothing. But all 7 of them, security, volunteers, Paula, they all saw it appear and form. But yet, nothing is there. I just don't understand how they're actually able to manipulate the screen, but there's nothing to be captured from it.
Right. Well, it just kind of goes to say, like, there's a reason why you don't see a whole lot of people with video evidence of the paranormal. I think the majority of anything anybody catches is audio.
That's true. Well, unless you use a fog machine.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I came up with an idea, and we've actually did implement it, and it actually does work for physical devices, but you basically have a fog machine, an IR camera, full spectrum camera, and a strobe light.
Mm-hmm.
And you put a fan down at the other end. Make sure the fog and everything just covers the room, and then turn the strobe light on. The fan stops spinning.
Right.
So, if you take that step further, you'd be able to capture, hopefully, an apparition walking. Or catch it in mid-stride.
You've touched on, like, there's an experiment that I do that I've done a few times that involves something similar. But I usually use a guinea pig for it. Basically, like, you've seen people doing the blindfold thing, like the sensory deprivation and whatnot.
Yep.
That got pretty popular there for a while. I've kind of flipped that a little bit, and I've started doing there for a while I was doing a sensory overload experiment in which my first guinea pig was Josh Hurd down the Shadow Man hallway.
Mm-hmm.
What we did was for 5 hours we pumped ions into that hallway. We shut everything down, like all the doors, windows.
Yeah.
Let our ion cannon just blast the area for about 5 hours, and then we took Josh in there. We had him sit in a chair in the middle of the hall, like right there by the nurse's station, but right in the middle.
Yep.
So he had nothing against his back, and he was looking down towards the room where the Shadow Man comes out of.
Right.
And we put on a strobe light, and not only did we have that, we also had a pink noise generator. Pink noise is just basically white noise, but on a different frequency.
Right.
And so we had that blasting. So we had him sit there like that in the dark with the strobe light and all that going on for about 30 minutes. And what this does is it's basically pummeling his sense of hearing, is pummeling his eyesight, is pummeling his physical, the way he's feeling physically with the ions.
Mm-hmm.
And then mentally, in that darkness, he's got nothing against his back. There's no security blanket if something were to come up behind him.
Right.
So we're throwing this barrage against his senses and seeing how he reacts. Well, not even a minute into it, he stands up, he puts his back up against the wall, and he's freaking out because he was hearing kids laughing, he was hearing his name being called, he was seeing a shadow at the end of the hallway, and he was uncomfortable with nothing up against his back because the way he put it was he felt like he was in the water with sharks swimming around.
What?
That's an analogy he used. That's how he felt. It just felt like things were around him, that he couldn't see. You know, like if you're swimming out in the ocean, you got in your head that there's sharks swimming around you. You're gonna panic a little bit.
Oh yeah. Huh. But wouldn't the strobing effect, if you're sitting there looking down the hallway, cause hallucinations? Because
it can. It can. That's part of the experiment. The audio playing will cause audio matrixing. Mm-hmm. Having that strobe going off for that extended period of time, just staring at it, you're going to have some visual matrixing going on. That's part of the whole experiment, is just to see how you react to all these elements, and if what you experienced at the time is ever picked up.
Yeah, sometimes you staring at a strobe light can put you into a seizure or an epileptic fit.
Yeah, if you're prone to them, they can. We actually streamed that on, I think it was Facebook or YouTube Live, and we put our phone up on the DVR system so people could watch what's going on with Josh. So very cool stuff, though. Very interesting experiment if you ever want to try it.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to use the pink noise. Might use the brown noise. No. Brown noise makes you shit yourself.
Right. Hit the brown note.
Yep, the brown note. Everyone hits that brown note, and that's it. It's over. The day the world shit themselves. All right, well, we have gotten to the point where you now have the floor to tell all of our listeners where they can find you, where they can find your documentaries if they want to watch Into the Light or Into the Light 2. If you have any new upcoming documentaries, share more information about haunted history, if you're going to be at any conventions coming up, and things like that. So, floor is yours.
All right, well, I've got a baby coming in October, so I'm kind of chilling on a lot of the conventions and stuff, but I am going to be at the Big Paranormal Roundup September 13th and 14th, and that's in Lexington, Missouri. It's going to be a cool event with camping, horseback rides, campfires, ghost stories, a chuck wagon, plus the speakers and everything like that. So that'll be fun. Aside from that, I've pretty much cooled it on some of the filming. I went to the Kansas City Paracon and did enough filming to give myself something to do throughout this time with the new baby coming.
Congratulations on that.
I'm gonna be working on a documentary. I'm gonna start working on that here in a couple months. I've still got some filming left to do on it, but also filmed a new pilot TV show. We're going to be pushing it to networks called Paranormal Studies. We do have a Facebook page, so if anybody wants to check out that Facebook page, go there and like it, because the more likes we get, the better it looks on us and the easier it is to push. Mm-hmm. The Haunting History is available on YouTube. Just do a search for it, and it should be the first channel that pulls up. We are also on VidiSpace as well. I think we've got the 4th season up on VidiSpace. The Into the Light films are available on VidiSpace and realhouse.org, as well as Amazon Prime. So if anybody wants to watch those, check them out. Make sure you leave a review. Those are always important. It helps us get seen. Mm-hmm. It really helps any independent filmmaker. Really helps us out. And I also have a podcast that I do every Sunday at 6 on Facebook called Paranormal Frequencies with John Long, and that's Sunday at 6 Central Time. And we're usually on for about an hour. So you guys can check that out.
And congratulations on the baby.
Yep,
thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Man, everybody's doing documentaries and web series and podcasts. It's basically our way of getting away from dealing with the outside world.
Well, I really shouldn't say too much about what the documentary is about, but I'm going to anyway.
Okay.
So a lot of people that know me know I'm a self-loathing paranormal investigator, right? I hate the entertainment aspect of the paranormal field, but I am part of the entertainment aspect of the paranormal field. So, hypocrisy at its finest, right?
Yep.
So I'm doing a documentary about that. Basically, the whole, I call it paratainment industry.
Yep.
The entertainment side of the paranormal. I've got some pretty neat people that are going to be in it. Johnny Hauser is going to be. He's done an interview for it.
Cool.
I'm trying to think of the girl's name. Ashley. What's her name? Godwin. Ashley Godwin from Ghost Hunters International.
Okay.
She did an interview on that, talking a little bit about behind the scenes of GHI and her experience on TV and stuff like that. I'm sure I'm going to have Josh Hurd in there at some point. I do have a nice little story to tell. I've got just a few minutes. At Kansas City, Chad Lindbergh was going to do an interview for me for that film, but he pulled out last minute because of his manager, I'm guessing.
Uh-oh.
She told him not to.
Oh.
So, yeah. I'm just going to crack that whip right here.
I guess so.
But the whole documentary is aimed at myself as well. Like I said, I'm part of the whole thing too, with the podcast, the web series, and the documentaries and stuff like that. So, I mean, I get where I'm coming from, and it's not like I'm pointing anybody out or anything or calling anybody out, because at the same time, I'm doing that to myself.
Yep.
So, it's just something that needs to be put out there, something that needs to be said.
Yeah,
basically.
That's true. It'll definitely be an interesting documentary to watch, that's for sure.
And there's one interview that I'm still trying to get everything worked out, that it's going to be the biggest draw of this whole film, is an interview with Ryan Buell about his downfall.
Oh, wow.
Yep. He's agreed to do it. He's just got to check with his contracts that he's got now to see if he's able to. So,
gotcha.
Just waiting on word.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other ones you can probably try to get a hold of.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Actually, what you need to do is possibly hit up Daryl and Brian Murray, the new crew of Ghost Hunters, because they're brand new to this, so they would be awesome to interview, because they're actually going to give you their side, like especially Brian Murray. I mean, I've been friends with him for years. He would always, whenever I talk about having a show, he's like, "Oh God, not you two." The next thing you know, where is he? He's on Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
I call him Hollywood now. But
I've got a few other people on my bucket list to hit up. It's just people I get, understandably, are intimidated by this subject, and they don't want to be seen in a negative light for speaking out about it. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
So, I have no problem with it.
Well, all right, man. We had a great time talking with you. And
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, not a problem. We'll definitely have you back on again when you have your next documentary out. We can go ahead and hit you up on that and learn more about it, and you can talk more about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, you have yourself a good rest of the night. Congratulations on the baby. And we'll probably cross paths sometime in the future, I'm assuming.
I'm sure we will.
Oh,
I'm sure we will.
So,
no doubt.
All right, man. You take it easy.
You too. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there you have it. You have been listening to the Phantasmic Journey podcast with our guest, David Glidden. He is the cinematographer, filmmaker for Into the Light and Into the Light 2, which is the exploration of the spook light phenomenon. And you can check it out on VidiSpace as well as Amazon Prime. I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and join us next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Phantasmic Journey Podcast is brought to you by Tascam and Amazon Studios. For more than 30 years, Tascam has developed products for every segment of the sound and music industry. From the high-end audio professional in a major post-production studio to the novice of hobbyist at home, Tascam is everywhere. They are a company committed to providing their customers audio and video solutions that enable breakthroughs by using sound in ways that are exciting as they are accessible, even recording the voices of the dead. You asked for a non-scripted paranormal TV show. You begged for a non-staged paranormal TV show. You begged and you pleaded, and we have listened. We present to you Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. It was released October 31st, 2017. In this series, we show you what it's like behind the scenes and conducting a real paranormal investigation. Join Gavin Kelly, Paul Purcell, and their special guests to seek out the existence of life after death by going to numerous haunted locations such as jails, hospitals, battlefields, and museums, collecting compelling evidence by means of video, photography, and EVPs. In this season, the crew investigates the St. Albans Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Jailhouse Pizza, and the famed Monroe House. And you can watch Season 1 of The Paranormal Journey into the Unknown on Amazon.com right now. Season 2 and 3 will be coming soon.